Hey guys, I wanted to just chat about recovery and just share my thoughts that came to me today. And I wanted to go a bit deeper into discussing the state of being recovered, what it actually means, how I experience this, and maybe some people who've been on other recovery journeys, maybe it's chronic pain recovery or maybe some other anxiety recoveries, they might find a lot of similarities to what I'm sharing. But I hope that this video will be helpful to some of you and will help you gain some clarity in this process. Sometimes people ask me things such as, when I am recovered, do I need to somehow keep maintaining that recovery? So if there is something that I need to keep doing for the rest of my life, so that to maintain this status of recovery. And to me, this question is quite tricky because I don't really believe that a full freedom from fear is in finding a certain solution that we just keep utilizing every time we feel there is wakefulness and there is a lot of anxiety, and then we keep going for the same thing over and over. To me, that doesn't feel like freedom, and this is not how I experienced recovery at all. And to be honest, even the word recovery kind of devalues the transformation I went through. So when I'm using the word recovery, I have this inner resistance for some reason that it's not a good word. It doesn't capture the whole depth of the change I went through. And that's why I kind of like use the recovery word because it's the one that many people will understand. But I hope that through talking about more of this process and what life is in like after quote unquote recovery, it will bring more clarity. So to me, recovery is actually a big change in how I viewed my whole life and how I viewed myself. I would say that through this process of navigating insomnia recovery, I had to uproot so many beliefs that I had about myself, about how my sleep should be, how my nights should be, what I can and can't do on little sleep. So I had to update those. I had to see things differently. And therefore, I think that a big marker of moving forward in this process is by seeing how our perspectives has shifted. We might not necessarily see in the process that our nights are, go perfectly every single time, but oftentimes what actually shows that something is shifting is how we relate to our experiences. And sometimes like a person can start this journey by having a lot of fear, panic around their nights. So let's say the possibility of them having a sleepless night creates this very strong visceral survival reaction, and they get really scared about it, which is understandable. I started from that place as well. But as my journey continued and I still experienced, speed bumps and setbacks and all this kind of like uncomfortable experiences, I noticed that I was fearing this less, but I still found some sort of resistance to it. And my fear turned more into like anger, maybe. A lot of times I was just angry. I was not so much scared of being awake, but I was really, really disappointed and angry. Then later on, that anger started to shift into milder forms. I felt more kind of like frustration, sadness, and then this kind of continued shifting into some sort of like milder form of inconvenience. So it felt kind of like, okay, that's a nuisance, but I'm okay. So my reactions, my perspectives on what is considered to be a good night like changed completely, and my demands that I put on myself also has changed. And this change, in my opinion, in perspective, is kind of permanent. Like I cannot fully imagine a person who would overcome this issue without actually changing completely their view on themselves, on this life. So when we go through this very deep personal transformation, I think that there is no actually maintenance needed. We don't need to use certain tools or techniques or anything like that, because that new way of seeing things becomes our new normal, new default. And paradoxically, that's when sleep stops bothering us. For me, sleep stopped being a topic to solve personally almost 4 years ago. It's been like, this almost 4 years. I haven't thought about my sleep in the same way I thought about it during insomnia. And this has been so liberating and so freeing. I see things differently now. And my experience of my nights now is basically indistinguishable from what I experienced my nights before insomnia. I don't think about sleep. I don't worry about it. I don't strategize. I don't problem solve. I don't resist wakefulness. I don't think of it as a big deal if I find myself taking a bit longer to fall asleep or waking up earlier than my alarm clock, and I just don't make any big deal out of it. And this has been a very stable state for a long time. And I think that's what recovery really means, like changing your whole perspective on these things, and having that perception on our nights allows us to break free from that vicious cycle that we were before. And paradoxically, that's when sleep stops being an issue. But many people imagine recovery process as something that, or being recovered as something that my nights from now on are going to be perfect every single night. So I'm going to sleep 7-8 hours every day without any interruption. But that's not a realistic goal, in my opinion. I haven't seen a person who never experienced sleep disruption in their lives, who have never, took longer time to fall asleep, who never woke up like multiple times throughout the night, or woke up at night and then couldn't fall asleep for a few hours. Like, we all have those nights from time to time, and I think it's unrealistic to consider recovery to be exactly that. To me, recovery is complete freedom from worrying or trying to control this. It's complete trust in our own bodies, that they know what to do, and I'm not going to interfere with this process. And the reason why I see it that way is because I tried to interfere with this process. I tried so hard to control my outcomes, and every time I did so, it was never successful. And I realized that I manually cannot make myself sleep. I cannot make myself, feel in a certain way. So I might as well just trust the body, trust the process. And in the meantime, I would make myself comfortable as I'm going through whatever experience there is. So to me, that's what recovery feels like. I don't solve this. I don't have any recipe for sleep. I don't know how sleep happens. Like, seriously, I talk about sleep a lot on this channel, but in reality, when we are in the process of recovery, we don't work directly with sleep. We never touch sleep. Sleep is something that's like untouchable. Like, we don't discuss any strategies to make sure that our sleep looks in a certain way. All we do is that we remove the resistance that makes us so tense and so hyper alert at night, which paradoxically keeps us awake. So that's the only work that we are doing here. We are not really focused on sleep itself. So that's basically my experience. I don't do, from anything that I implemented like over during my recovery process, I no longer do it. At least I don't do it consciously. It's never a task. Even concepts such as befriending wakefulness, to me, it's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, to me, wakefulness is not a problem anymore. I don't have to consciously remind myself that, I need to befriend wakefulness, or, I need to change my thought about it. It became my default state. right now. That perspective is something that is now a part of my personality. And I think that when person feels like, okay, this journey is, or whatever, like this teaching or philosophy is not working, oftentimes you could see that actually their perspectives hasn't changed, and that's what tells me that, you know, there is a bigger transformation is still awaiting them. So for me, recovery is not about you achieve something through tools and then you maintain it every now and then when you have like a difficult night. This is something that you change yourself, you change the way you view things over and over and over. At first you do it very consciously, very intentionally, and after a while it becomes more and more natural. It becomes our second nature, and we don't even think about it that way. And of course this process takes time. It takes a lot of moments when we have to remind ourselves. So many people share something when they go through a speed bump or setback, whatever you call that. They say something like, it's like I forgot everything I learned. And that's exactly how I experienced my speed bumps. Every speed bump, I felt like I really forgot the knowledge that I had before. Like clarity that I had is no longer there. And in reality, what actually happened is that for a very short moment, that my brain convinced me that I'm not safe again. And I started believing that perspective, and for acting from that perspective, I started to engage in various behaviors and thought patterns, which kind of prolonged my speed bumps. But the moment I again kind of regained this clarity over the fact that I'm actually safe regardless of what is going on around me, that's when the speed bump would slowly start to kind of like dissipate. So the process of recovery is about actually changing our perspective. It's about exposing ourselves to the new way of seeing this and responding to this situation. And at first, it's not going to be intuitive. It's not going to be something that comes naturally. Most likely, our default response is going to be one rooted in fear, in panic, in problem solving. And that's okay. That's completely natural. I cannot imagine a journey without that. And therefore, the process of recovery includes those ups and downs. The ups meaning the moment when we start seeing things in a new way, and then when the downs comes, it's basically we forget for a while that new perspective, and then we remember it again, and then we have kind of like experience an up, and then we forget, and then we remember it again, and so on and so forth. So that's what to me the recovery process is. But again, before anyone starting this journey, I feel like this is very helpful to get clear on what recovery really is. Because if we are having a very unrealistic perspective, a very unrealistic demand on ourselves, then we are up for a lot of frustration. I really tried so hard to make sure that when I am recovered, I'm never going to experience a rubbish night again. And that was unfair demand to make, because humans' sleep is anything but perfect. I have never met a person who never had a sleep disruption in their lives. And in fact, through recent or past years, like since the this kind of like new perspective shift, I still had once in a while like a night which was like it's not that great, but I was no longer afraid of it. I was no longer thinking of it as a problem. To me, it was something like, it's an okay night. I mean, it's just a night, and it doesn't define whether I'm a good sleeper or bad sleeper. It is what it is. And that kind of neutral perspective started to developing more and more, and that's how it became my new state. So recovery is more like a profound change in personality, profound change in the way we view the world and ourselves in it. And it's not really about exactly what the outcome of the night is. I hope that this made sense. And yeah, we'll see each other in the next video.